let's talk about hip hinging. Hip hinging is really what you gotta have if you wanna progress to deadlifting. Ultimately, you need to add some weight in order to challenge yourself, develop it, and even maintain good hip hinging. But if we're gonna ultimately get you there, let's talk about how we get you there. And one of the easiest things you can do to make sure someone's ready to maybe add some weight or do some more challenging hip hinging activities is simply see if they got a toe touch. So I'm gonna walk Ashley through some things here. So Ashley, come on up. So feet together, and Ashley, just see if you can touch your toes. So Ashley, touch your toes, and then Ashley, probably palm the floor. So she's got great mobility. Now, one of the misconceptions here is that just because someone can palm the floor means they're ready to deadlift. And sometimes, in my experience, trying to train someone who's got great mobility to deadlift properly is sometimes harder. Because a lot of times what they like to do is lock those legs out and just go down. I mean, Ashley, come over here. She can lock her legs out, keep those knees extended, and just go down and back up, down and back up. And you see this a lot. And that's an actual mistake because you're actually not using the hamstrings. Keep a little bit of flexion and keep that back in a good position. So really what we want to see is your back in a good position. One thing you can do to see if they're using too much of their back and not their hips at all is get them up against the wall. So you can see gymnasts, dancers, they can do this. You get them flat up against the wall. Now let's see if Ashley can touch her toes. So you see Ashley comes off balance, which tells me she is hinging her hips a little bit. Because if you can touch the wall in this position, go down, and you can still palm the floor, that tells me you're not sitting back. Because what we're looking for in the toe touch, the first thing that should happen if I'm going to bend over and touch my toes is my weight should shift. And when my weight shifts, that's hinging of the hips. My hips are hinging, okay? So even if someone can palm the floor, don't make too many assumptions. Let's make sure they're using their hips, and some of that motions come from the hips just as much as the back. When we get to deadlifting and adding weight, we certainly don't want any of that coming from the back. We got to make sure of that. If a person does have problems in the toe touch, so for me, as an example, I'm a great example. Been standing up during the day, doing some stuff around the office. My toe touch is about right here, right now. Okay, so I need to try to get that toe touch if I want to be doing some deadlifting as part of my routine today. So a real quick, easy way to do that is do what we call a toe touch progression. So I'm going to keep some slight flexion of the knees. We don't want to lock the knees out, slight flexion. I'm going to cycle my breathing. So again, this will be somewhat of a warm up for me. I'm going to go up, inhale during extension, exhale during flexion. And if I get to a sticking point, stop, inhale, come up, and I just do this a couple times. We move on to showing how I progress in Ashley. Go down. And you can see me, I've already gotten to it. And don't think I'm faking it here, this is really me. Here's the problem though, because I gain so much flexibility so quickly, this is more of a neurological motor programming issue for me, okay? Inhale, exhale, going down, a little slight flexion of the knees, and then come back up. So I'll cycle through. Me, I can get it pretty quick. So just those few little reps, I go down pretty good. Here's the thing with me, my problem, I do have good mobility. I've got more of a motor control problem. So when I try to go down, you see me, my first thinking is going down into flexion. I don't sit back enough. What I'm doing in my posterior chain is actually creating tension when it should be a little bit more relaxed. So it's creating tension because I've got a little bit more mobility and I'm not stabilizing quite well enough in my hips and my lumbopelvic area. So that's something I have to work through, but I get it. Now I am a candidate to start doing some deadlifting activities. But let's bring Ashley back up here. Let's walk through a little bit with her. So Ashley, again, let's see that toe touch. Go all the way down. So she's got great mobility. Okay, great mobility. So one thing we need to look at is we look at her sacral angle, it should be about 70 degrees. And you can see her sacral angle is kind of flattened out. So it's more flat, which means she got a lot of flexibility in those hamstrings. So right now she's good. We can start her deadlift, but I need to think about that. Come back up. Is to make sure she's just not using all that flexibility. She's actually getting in a good position, keeping those knees flexed. Again, if you're doing a deadlift right, 70% of what you're lifting the weight with is coming from the hamstrings. Okay, that last part's the glutes, but you really got to use those hamstrings. So someone who needs deadlifting, the hamstrings are lifting. So we got to we got to use them, and when you use them, concentric, eccentric, it's going to shorten them up a little bit. So let's walk Ashley through a little bit of a progression of how we want to get there. And again, I'll talk about ways we would want to stop and not progress. Too often we think about what's next, and what we need to realize is, hey, you're not ready for next, you may need to regress. So we're going to start with Ashley, just something pretty basic. I'm going to give it a stick, And what we want to do, placing the stick on the spine, I want the stick to be some feedback for her as we walk through this. And for Ashley, this is just a little bit of a warm-up. It's not going to be her exercises for the day. I still want to get her loaded. Again, she's active. She wants to work out. This is just part of what she does. So I get it touching her head, mid-back, sacrum. Now we need you to come up, Ashley, up against the wall again. And again, this is just some feedback for her. Because again, so let's step all the way up against the wall, feet all the way against the wall. So again, flat against the wall. So now take 1 foot distance away from the wall. Okay, and spread these feet out, keeping that stick touching. Let's slide that stick up, all the way up, all the way up. Okay? So I want the stick up, because if not, the stick's gonna hit the wall, and what I wanted to get her to try to do is let her butt hit the wall. So again, all I'm trying to get her to do, I'm gonna limit my cueing. People over coach. Let the person figure it out. Give them some awareness, a few little pieces of information so they can start figuring this out. That's what we're trying to do. So in this position, Ashley, all I want you to do, all I'm gonna have her do is sit back and touch the wall. With deadlifting, one of the definitions of a good deadlift is obviously it's hinging at the hips, but keep these tibias vertical. You gotta flex the knees. Everybody says, well, you don't want the knees to flex. Yes, you gotta have the knees flex, but you don't want the tibias to go forward, or the knee go forward. Keep the knee here, sit back. Keep that tibia as vertical as possible. All right, so take that butt, touch the wall. Good, come back up. You see, the stick came off the butt. Keep that stick touching. She started using a little bit more of that back than we wanted. Take that butt back. So flex the knees. Ashley's biggest problem is going to be not letting her knees flex. So if you look at my knees, Ashley's issue, anybody who's really hypermobile, the issue is going to be doing this. So Ashley can do this all day long. What I want her to do is this. Okay, so sit down, sit back, sit back. Good, that's better. If you're doing it right, you should feel some tension in the hamstrings, okay? I should feel tension. I don't care how flexible you are. You gotta feel a little tension back there. So after we do 2 or 3, one more Ashley, I think Ashley's getting it, and that's what I wanna see. As soon as she feels like she's got it down, good, come back up. Now, let's walk over here and do another option. So again, another option for Ashley would be, again, I really like this option, is gonna be more what I would call an assisted technique. Now, Ashley could start with this one rather than the wall. I think she's at this point. So I'd start Ashley here and go right into the next one. So again, instead of just warming up, doing some stretching, Ashley doesn't need to stretch. She's plenty flexible. I want to warm her up and get her ready to do the activity we're going to do in a second, which is more loaded and creating a challenge. Now, what this band is going to do, it's going to do just like I did with the toe touch. The reason the toe touch progression works is it creates a weight shift. And it forces me to what? If I'm getting pulled this way, the way my brain's going to want to get on balance is to hinge my hips. If I'm getting pushed this way, the way my brain's going to want to get on balance is to hinge the hips. So this band is pulling her backwards. So the band is actually forcing her to hyperextend. So her initial reaction in response to that band pulling this way is to hinge. So when I get her to hinge, that band is going to actually force a little bit better hip hinge. Now, I'm going to do this with 2 legs. We can progress to 1 leg. But the good thing about what this does, it actually, when she gets down, it helps her out of the position. So it's a great way to train someone to hip hinge without loading them, and it's actually assisting them through the pattern. So spread those legs out, spread those feet a little bit more, perfect. So now, same thing, touching the head, mid-back, sacrum, sit those hips back, keep those knees flexed, flex those knees, good. Come back up. So we want those knees a little bend and sit that butt back. Don't get on those heels so much. You want to keep that feet flat. Good. Come back up. Sit back a little bit more. Keep those knees flexed. So slightly flex those knees even before you go down. So again, that's where Ashley's going to have some difficulty. We're going to have to keep making sure those knees see a slight flexion because she's always going to want to keep that knee locked out. Good. That's a really good one right there. I think she got that one down. So again, once she gets it, let's reinforce it with some loading. So let's do it one more time. Good. Now, so you see how her feet are staying a little bit better flat on the floor, so that's better. So now from here, maybe do 1 or 2 more. But right now, I think she's got herself, neurologically, she's got herself in this routine, the hips are moving. Let's go ahead and add a little rotation to this. So I'm going to have you put your arm through. And I'm going to rotate around, but before I do that, I'm going to give this stick back to her, let her keep that stick touching. So one thing we'll do, with the band right here, let's put the stick on the other side of the band, just like that. So now we're creating some rotation, but again, the stick is making sure it's reinforcing, keeping that back aligned. If the stick's coming off the sacrum or the mid-back or even the head, the back's not staying in a good position. So before I just arbitrarily start adding some weight, even in her position, I want to create a little rotation because Ashley's got great mobility. Some stability is where we need to really work with her. So I'm going to put my band around. So now it's creating rotation. So this is no different than her doing a single arm kettlebell or dumbbell deadlift. The band is just creating that same rotational force. So 2 legs, we'll start with 2 legs. Spread those feet out a little bit more. Good. Now sit back, keep those knees flexed. Good, back down. And when I say flex the knees, I'm not talking about bending the knee and doing a lunge or a squat. Let's keep those tibias vertical, but sit back. All right, sit back. Good. Now, Ashley's ready to do what I think really ultimately what I wanted her to focus on. Get away from 2 legs, let's go to 1. So now, let's take this left leg back. Good. Back up. And this is where I think she needs to do more of these single leg activities because she's so mobile. Let's do it again. And with Ashley, we can load her up. I think she's ready based off of this. Go ahead and add single arm, single leg, kettlebell or dumbbell, but load it up. That's another big mistake. People assume we're going to do some light work. No, it's a deadlift. We're training big, powerful muscles, so let's do it. Let's do heavier weight, lower reps, take a break, go back and do something else, superset some of those little correctives in. Now, the reason I like the band and the reason I want to focus here and not get right into a weight is because most people, this is where they need to go. For a lot of people, general population, maybe get intimidated by some weight. A lot of people get injured during some training. So this is a very low level, more conservative play to get people to feel more comfortable with that hip hinging activity. So start with the band, start with some rotations, then add in some of the loading. Hey guys, if you like the video, definitely hit the thumbs up. And if you want to stay informed, hit the bell so we can notify you anytime we put up new videos. And of course, any questions or comments, put those at the end. We'll certainly be checking them out and trying to respond. Thanks so much. And remember, always move well and then move often.